Assume we have an object with mass m that moves around a circular path with an angular speed given by omega. Assuming that this is our position vector function, what we want to do is find the force that's acting on the object and show that that force is directed toward the origin of the circle. First, let's get a concept drawing. So here's our circular path, and our vector function is going to have output vectors that terminate at ordered pairs that are on the circular path. And we're being asked to find the force that acts on this object, and we want to be able to show that it's directed toward the origin, so that that force is pushing back in the opposite direction than the position vector itself. Let's recall that that force as a vector can be determined by considering the mass of the object and then multiplying that by the acceleration vector. So we can expand on this and say the force as a vector function is going to be the mass times the acceleration vector function at any given time t. So in order to determine this force vector function, we need to find the acceleration vector function. And as a reminder, the acceleration function is the first derivative of the velocity function, which is the second derivative of the original position function. And we were given the original position function in the initial statement. So we'll grab this position vector function and start to differentiate it. Now I'm going to switch out of IJ notation and go into pointy bracket notation. To me, it feels a little less cluttered to use pointy brackets than I's and J's. So this is the given position vector function. So the first thing that we'll do is determine the velocity vector, which is the first derivative of the position vector. And in order to differentiate a vector function, we just differentiate each of the individual components. So the derivative of cosine is minus sine, so we're going to have minus a times the omega that comes from the chain rule, and then we're looking at the sine of omega t inside here. And then the derivative of the second component, the derivative of sine is cosine, so we're going to have the constant multiple a times the constant omega that comes from the chain rule, and then we're going to multiply that by the cosine of omega t, close pointy brackets. So then, the acceleration vector function is the first derivative of the velocity vector function. So let's differentiate each of these individual components. The first component's derivative, again, the derivative of sine is cosine, so we're just going to get the minus a omega constant multiplier that we had a moment ago, but now we're going to multiply by another omega from the chain rule, which is going to cause that to be omega squared here, and then we're looking at the cosine of omega t, and this is my horizontal component. The derivative of cosine is minus sine. We get that a omega constant multiple, but then we get another factor of omega from the chain rule, so now we're going to kick that up to a power 2, and then again this was the sine of omega t, close pointy bracket. So now let's rewrite this acceleration vector. Let's factor out the common constant multiple omega squared. I'm intentionally going to leave the a's in and factor out the negative and the omega squareds. Those are constant multiples or scalar multiples, so that can be factored out as a scalar multiple of a vector. So I'm going to do star multiplication here because that's scalar multiplication. And the negative and the omega squared came out, so the a, we intentionally left that in. You'll see why in the next step here. And leaving that a in, we have the sine of omega t as my second component. Now, hopefully you can see and recognize that this vector is the same as the original vector that we started with. So our acceleration vector is a negative constant multiple of the original position vector. Now, since that force vector function was, again, mass times the acceleration vector function, and we just found that acceleration vector function to be a constant multiple of the original position vector. Let's clean this up one more step to see that we have negative omega squared times, I'm going to call this m for mass, which is a constant multiple of our original position vector. And since that is a negative quantity, we can tell that this force vector is acting in the opposite direction of the original position vector, which is what we were being asked to find. So this force vector function is always going to be acting in the opposite direction of the original position vector function. So there is something that we do need to make mention of here, though. This happens in the case when the argument of my sine and cosine contain linear expressions in terms of t. Let's notice that we would still have a circular path if we had a times the cosine of some quantity that was not linear in the argument of cosine, and that same quantity that was not linear in the argument of the sine. This would still be a circular path, but the force acting on the object would not be directed toward the origin. So let's go back to the original vector function that traced out this circular path and notice that its magnitude is a constant, right? We do have a constant magnitude for that position vector function. We have the same length vector that's tracing that circular path. And when we have a constant magnitude, a vector is going to be perpendicular to its own derivative, right? And so in this case, we would say that the velocity vector would be perpendicular to the position vector because that position vector had a constant magnitude. Now, if we were to do this again, the first derivative of the position vector turned out to be minus a omega sine omega t, a omega cosine omega t, and the magnitude of this velocity vector also is a constant value. If we were to calculate the magnitude, we can factor out the common multiple positive a squared omega squared that can be factored out of sine squared plus cosine squared, which of course is 1. And we can see then that this is a constant value. And when the magnitude of a vector is constant, that tells us that the velocity vector is going to be perpendicular to its derivative, which is the acceleration vector. So then back up here at our concept drawing, that would mean that the acceleration vector is going to be perpendicular to the velocity vector, which would put it back in the direction of the original position. And the acceleration vector is pointing back toward the center of the circle or toward the origin. This tells me that that force, which is mass times this perpendicular acceleration vector, is going to be the centripetal force or the center-seeking force. But as we were saying a moment ago, if we were to change that position vector function to where the argument of sine and cosine is not a linear expression, we're still going to have a position vector function that has a constant magnitude. The magnitude of the position vector is going to be each of the individual components squared and added together, which is basically going to give me a squared times 1 on the inside here, which is a constant magnitude for the position vector. We'll say that's going to be a, so this has a radius of a here. So therefore we can say that the position vector is still perpendicular to the velocity vector, and up here in our drawing, let's indicate that. But the difference comes when we start to calculate the velocity vector. When we're looking at the velocity vector, we have the first derivative of the position vector, and when we differentiate these components of the position vector, what we get is minus a times the sine of t squared, but then we need to multiply that by 2t, the derivative of the inside expression based on the chain rule. And then for the second component, again, we're going to have the derivative of sine is cosine, so we're going to have a times the cosine of t squared, but then we need to multiply again by 2t in order to satisfy that chain rule again. So now let's look at the magnitude of this velocity vector. When we square the components and add them together, we get this component squared is going to be 4 a squared t squared times sine squared of t squared. All of that stuff has been squared. And then we'll add that to the square of this component. So we're going to end up with 4a squared t squared times cos squared of t squared, squaring all of those components. And this time, the magnitude becomes 4a squared t squared, which gets factored out, and then sine squared plus cos squared is going to be equal to 1. But since we now have a factor of t, this is going to be 4 times a, assuming a is positive, it's the radius of our circle, times abs val t. Let's call it abs val because t is a variable and we need to make sure that this principal square root does have a positive quantity. So the magnitude of the velocity vector is not a constant. The magnitude of the velocity vector is speed. So the speed around the outside of the circle is not a constant. That means depending on where I'm located around the outside of the circle, I might be moving faster or slower depending. So if the magnitude of the velocity vector is not a constant, then the velocity vector could not possibly be perpendicular to its own derivative, which means that that acceleration vector has to be pushing the particle around the outside of the circle, either pushing it forward or pushing it back. Pushing it forward would be speeding it up, pushing it back would be slowing it down. But whatever the case is, that acceleration vector is not perpendicular to the velocity because of the fact that the velocity is not a constant speed. The velocity, the speed, is changing, and that can only happen with a push. So in summary, if the position vector function tracing out that circular path has linear expressions inside the argument of sine and cosine, we are going to end up with a velocity that is perpendicular to acceleration, meaning that there's no change in speed, and that that acceleration vector is going to be pointing back in the opposite direction of the position. The velocity vector has a constant magnitude all the way around, and so there's no change in speed, which means that the velocity and acceleration must be perpendicular to each other. But if the argument of the sine and the cosine do not contain linear expressions in terms of t, this may not be the case.